Alright guys, so we have the saddest slash happiest day on the same day as arm day. It's sad because the training is sad and makes me cry and depressed as compared to something that's actually hard like leg day. But I have very small arms and I would like very big arms. So it's that catch-22. Big arms are awesome, arm training is not awesome, but you gotta do what you gotta do. There we go. Hard push, finish. Come on, Terrence, stay tight, buddy, let's go. Hard finish, let's go. That's right. Lock in stone. Hard, finish. So, again, same if you haven't watched any of the previous videos we've got going out. The context right now, training with myself, Terrence Bryce. Terrence is about 4 weeks out from a show. So he's dictating kind of the volume of the workouts, which is not drastically different at all from what we normally do. So again, basically it's just at this point we're taking down the number of working sets just a little bit. So his working volume is near rock bottom. And just for the common sense version of that, training is about breakdown and then recovery, or stimulus and then recovery. And he's not growing any muscle at this point in time, so we just want enough stimulus to basically tell his body to hang on to muscle. As far as the rest, you'll just kind of see, and I'll talk about them as we go through exercise selection. We've basically got two big output movements for arms, as big as they can be. A fun pressing one at least. We've got a Swiss bar close grip press with chains, single arm dumbbell curl, and really the thing that dictates our exercise selection more than anything else is just keeping elbows healthy and keeping them alive. So again, Terrence needs bigger arms. If you guys haven't looked at all, look at his page, look for this past year. By far the most we've brought up his arms, to the point where only us being super nitpicky and having you know, the most high standards that we can possibly have for a physique, we're still working on them a little bit. They've come up massively. So again, he needs to be able to train them frequent is a big thing, especially for biceps in my opinion, to get him to grow. So again, the more frequent you're training something, especially the way we train with relatively high intensity, heavy loads, is it has to be very elbow friendly, otherwise we're going to trash our elbows in the process. So again, we'll talk about it a little bit through the video, but again, that's the main stem for our exercise selection, is what's going to keep the elbows feeling good and feeling healthy. And then from there, obviously we want exercises that still allow for a good amount of output, a good amount of load, and things that we can track and progress over time. So here we go. Alright guys, so I get so many questions about this still, so it's good trying to go over as many times as I can so it's pretty clear. How do we set up the chains? Why do we use all this shit? What's the goal? So again, the exact number isn't as important. That's something you can worry about down the road. But basically we want a big difference in the weight from the bottom of the rep to the top of the rep. So basically you're stronger at the top, or for a given weight, however you want to word it, feels harder as you come to the bottom of the rep. So again, the whole purpose of that is to match what you're capable of doing. So we want to make it so at the bottom it's a certain weight, at the top it's significantly heavier. So one of the goals of bands, again, we can accomplish the same thing. You've seen it on legs with reverse bands and things like that. But sometimes it's a matter of semantics, and chains tend to work very, very easy. You can see we're benching out of the cage. Sometimes bands, even from the bottom and from the top, are a little bit of a pain in the ass. So we've chosen chains. So first thing I get questions about this little deal. All we want to make sure so things are even is I don't want this whole thing, this is a daisy chain with a chain on it sliding around. And so again, I didn't go to school for this. This is just, there's a simpler way of doing it. Have at it, do your thing, or if you have something on your bar that keeps it in place. But I don't want it sliding. So basically just putting the end of the daisy chain in between two plates, putting the collar on there, and that keeps it very, very nicely in place. These don't move, this doesn't move, so it stays in the same spot. Again, not sliding up and down the bar. The next question I always get is, why are the chains doubled up a million times? So you'll see people sometimes with a chain hanging from the bar like this. And so now if Bryce goes ahead and benches, so you'll see the difference again. If I just had one chain, go ahead Bryce, and he goes down, whatever range of motion he's gonna go, and then he goes back up, I'll just show that one more time. Pay attention to how many links are going on and off the ground with the 1 chain versus the 3 chain. Go ahead and rack it back up. So if you have just 1 chain hanging from the bar, maybe we're changing the amount of weight, I don't know, 7, 8 links. I don't know how much each individual one, but if the whole chain of chains, is that right? I don't know. The whole chain of links weighs about 20 pounds total. So if you're only making the change of a couple of links from top to bottom, then it's a very small difference in weight. So literally all we do is we double these over or triple these over. So basically it's 3 times the amount of links for the same distance being traveled. So it's 3 times the load changed if we were just using 1 chain hanging from the top or 3 from here. And then so then what's the point of the daisy chain? What we want to have happening, I'll have Bryce bench one more time, is as he benches, again, we want a big discrepancy from the top to the bottom. So I want almost all the chains down when it's at the bottom, which you can see all minus maybe 5, 6 links. And as he presses all the way up, I want pretty much all the chains on or just about off. That's pretty much perfect. I want 1 chain or 1 link still touching so it doesn't swing around too much. So again, obviously you can see depending on the length of your arm, depending on the range of motion, how low down you bring it, how high you bring it, this is going to be a slightly different setup for anybody. So again, if you had slightly longer arms, you might have to put it a link lower. If you had slightly shorter arms, you might have to put it a link higher. It's just about having them almost all off the ground at the top and almost all on the ground at the bottom. Go ahead and sit back. And so that is for the setup. So again, this is just some MacGyvering to keep it in place. The daisy chain is so we can change at one point in time how many links are on and off the ground. And again, it's having it either single, double, triple, or you could even quadruple over. It's just going to change the amount of weight that is changing through a given range of motion. So again, if we had obviously 6 inches being traveled, it's twice as much weight change if you had it doubled over, 3 times if you had it tripled over, and so on. And so again, obviously the difference is if you just had 1 chain hanging down, it would not be a significant difference in weight from top to bottom. But this is the best way that I have found to go about having a drastic weight change from top to bottom. And again, all for the goal. If you want to know, instead of percentages, what are you trying to have the feel? The feel you're trying to have is that on your last rep, your failure rep, every inch is just perceivably as hard. And when you're giving 100% effort trying to push that bar and hard as fast as possible, it's moving the same pace the entire time. Not how a normal bench would be where it's kind of the sticking point at the bottom and then hard and quick to the top.
Good man. Come on. Another. Let's go. Go. Yeah. There we go. Hard push. Finish. Boy. Good.
Take your time. Quality, come on. Yep. Good, Terrence. Come on again. Come right here with me. Stay tight. Bring your breath. Come on. Hard. Good. Yep. Strong, man. Let's get it. Come on now. Boy. Too fun, man. Too fun. Work. Stay tight.
Come on, Joe. Finish. Ah, boy.
Good, come on. So once a count, I'll get your head on, keep it the same. Right here, we get smooth. Hard, 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 hard. Good. Just set. Good. Right here, we do one more. That's right. Lock in stone. Hard, 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 hard. Finish, 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 finish. Good. Got more. Come on, more to go. More to go. Yep. I got you. Let's go. Hard, 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 hard. Let's go on. Smooth. Come on, Terrence. Stay tight, buddy. Let's go. Hard finish, hard finish, hard finish, hard finish.
Let's go. Good.
With everything else.
I think Iron Man made him.
Yeah.
Yep. Good rep, man. Come on. Now a couple keep on. Yep. Yep. One hard. Come on, man.
Good rest, man. Get your head on now. These are what you're paying for. Let's go. Hard, 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 hard. All you got one more now. Got that control. Prettiest rep. Here we go. Hard, hard. I got you. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Good. Come on, control, squeeze. Drive that onto the pad. Moving in. Come on, come on, come on, come on. One more. Come on. Up. Smooth, hard. Finish. Yeah. All right, so just finished with what I like to call kind of our meat and potatoes. Again, so as much of an output movement as you can have for triceps. Again, it's that close grip press. Absolutely stuff around your shoulder joints working as well too. So front delt big time, chest as well too, depending on the arm path. But this little closer arm path, going to keep a little bit more on front delt and then maybe some clavicular fibers of the chest, managing the shoulder. But a little trick is the closer you bring your hands when you're dropping them down towards your face or towards your collarbone, the more you're going to bias the tricep. So again, if you're having a hard time, you're feeling it all in your shoulders or all in your chest, it doesn't take a big adjustment. Instead of just right here stacked over the elbow, anywhere slightly this direction. So again, slightly closer to your clavicles or your face, and you're going to get a lot more tricep involvement. And then from there, if you guys haven't followed my stuff, I'm a huge fan, I guess that's the right word, I don't know, of single arm preacher curls. Again, I just think as they train the bicep, I said minus some of the fully lengthened, fully short ranges, do 90% of their contractile range. You have the right angle of a pad. It's going to match what your body is capable of doing for load. And again, keeping it single arm and on the pad, keeping it on the pad, you have so much less to manage around your shoulder joints, so all the output focus can be on your biceps. And if you get that upper arm lined up straight, perpendicular to the ground, or relative to the side of the pad, perpendicular or parallel to the side of the pad, it's going to be great for alignment as well too, so very elbow friendly. So for most bicep movements, we're just trying to avoid this type of thing where your elbows are flared out, you know, if you're using some sort of dumbbell or barbell, keeping things lined up. And then we're just going to finish with some a cable curl variation, so kind of like an incline curl variation. If you don't have cables, you could just do incline dumbbells, pretty much the same effect. Train the bicep through their fully lengthened range, and that's going to be supersetted with a hammer curl, and then that's going to be right to a rope tricep extension to an overhead extension. So it was kind of the big movements first. We kind of write our numbers, track the weights, the reason, trying to progress those. And the second part of this, just kind of amped only. We're going to go as heavy as we can, relatively speaking, given the rep range of maybe 8 to 12, but not really tracking loads here. This might be a little bit different workout to workout. And that's kind of the way I like to structure things. It's kind of your heavy stuff that you track and do consistently for long periods of time, trying to progress and beat both load and form. And then I like to do kind of the second half of the workout, a little bit more kind of pump-based stuff. And again, still trying to push, you know, load and relative weight as much as possible, but just not tracking it.
Walk like I built this town. Steps so light, I barely touch the ground. Everybody wants to know how. Brick by brick, I put them in the ground. Walk like I built, walk like I built this. I do it for my people, family business, and everybody wants to know how. Take a good look, you are now witness.
All right, guys, so that's the arm workout. I don't know, depending on where your training's at now, that may or may not seem like a lot. But again, looking at what your biceps and triceps are capable of doing, and just looking at contractile range, looking mainly at elbow flexion extension, and obviously looking a little bit at the shoulder joint, since the long head of your tricep and your bicep crosses over the shoulder joint. We're training them through pretty much the full contractile range. So any exercises kind of after what we did would be a little bit redundant. Our first two movements, we basically only did 2 working sets each. Even in the off season, when our food's a little higher, recovery's a little higher, especially for Terrence's case, we might only go to basically 3 working sets, so subtle difference for arms. And again, I'd rather get more volume over the course of the week through frequency. So sometimes we train biceps as many times as 3 times a week. Right now we're training biceps and triceps twice a week each. So finish with our little pump volume work there. So 2 working sets of our big movements to start, and then 2 to 3 rounds of that last one there. And obviously at home, just adjust your volume accordingly. Again, it's a very individual specific thing. It obviously depends on how you're doing each individual rep first and foremost, how far you're taking the sets. But basically aside from that, if your recovery is good, generally can tolerate a little bit more volume and might grow a little bit more from it potentially. And then the last thing I finished with, you'll see I'm just training a little pronation, supination. One, it helps a little bit seemingly with my elbow health. My elbows have been the best they've been for a couple years. And that's something I've incorporated consistently. And also my forearms are garbage, they're super small. So always trying to incorporate a little bit of grip and forearm work in there as well too. And again, I apologize for anybody that watched even 30 seconds of that. It's about the most boring shit on the planet. So last we're gonna make Terrence, well, we don't have to make him, he's pretty damn good at posing, but we're gonna have him run through some rounds of posing. And even when you're already damn good at it, it's nice to have somebody else to kind of count your poses for you, so making him hold each pose for 6, 7, 8 seconds. If you've never posed before, it's exhausting. If you're not really familiar with bodybuilding a whole lot, you might be like, why are we having this dude in his underwear hit poses? At the end of the day, he's a professional bodybuilder, so that's what he gets judged on, and people don't realize how big of a difference posing makes, arguably even more so in classic physique, the category that Terrence competes in. So one, there's a component of practice. You want all the poses to look exactly the way you want to look. You don't realize how hard it is to basically make sure you're tensing every single muscle in your body. And then there absolutely is a fatigue component to it as well. So you'll literally see guys, even at the pro level, that are out of breath on stage, they're shaking on stage. And the guys that make posing look the easiest, it's because they make it really hard now when they're practicing. So we're gonna take them through some rounds, literally as a form of conditioning. It's very, very taxing, it's very draining, especially after a session. But the goal is obviously we want him to be tired now and hurting now, so he doesn't look tired on stage. And that's the goal. If you ever watch Terrence, he makes his posing on stage look really, really easy. It's because he's putting more time and effort in the off season than most guys are. So that's it, arm workout. Again, we have arm day on its own. Watch out for the other workouts because we touch on triceps one other day on our push day, biceps one other day on our pull day. And again, we're just gonna see a little bit of posing from Terrence wrapping up here. Again, just about 4 weeks out of his show right now. And as always, like I say before, please like and subscribe and follow and bookmark and hashtag and at me. Come at me, bro, right? I don't know, whatever you kids are doing, keep on doing that. But anyway, I appreciate you. Give me the feedback below and be on the lookout for this page actually having some content, hopefully consistently.
Take a good look, you are now witness. Wake up, wake